Our top story for this half hour, Amnesty International says that Myanmar security forces have killed hundreds of Rohingya Muslims in northern Rakhine state. A new report published by the prominent rights group details mass killings, torture, and forcible displacement of Rohingya Muslims by the Myanmar government. The report says security forces have burned to death the elderly and others unable to flee, adding women and girls were raped in some villages. Amnesty has called on the United Nations Security Council to impose an arms embargo on Myanmar and set targeted sanctions against senior officials. More than 580,000 Rohingya refugees have crossed into the neighboring Bangladesh, fleeing a crackdown branded by the UN as, quote, ethnic cleansing. Barry Grossman, international lawyer, joins us now from Bali to offer us more insight on that story. Mr. Grossman, welcome to the program. Amnesty International seems to be sounding like a broken record when it comes to the rights violations against the Rohingya, but why isn't anything changing on the ground for them?
Well, I mean, obviously this is tragic. We don't really need a lot more evidence about what is happening, and what is happening is horrific. The problem, of course, is that the international community and in particular the members of the Security Council, are not particularly interested in doing anything about this. Of course, it would be very different if this was happening somewhere else and different people were affected, but the problem is that what we're seeing is essentially a geopolitical battle between the interests of China and its allies on the one hand, and the US and the Atlantic world on the other, both of which, for different reasons, want to keep Myanmar within their respective spheres of influence. Now, Myanmar was designated by the Obama regime, by Secretary of State Clinton, as pivotal in the US tactic of refocusing its efforts and pivoting to Asia in order to isolate China. And the unwillingness to act, it seems to me, here, is based on the fact that nobody really knows whether the civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi will prevail over the remnants of the former junta and the military in keeping control of the political apparatus in Myanmar. Now, it's unfortunate. We don't need a whole lot more proof of what is happening. These stories are horrific. There's tens of thousands of people a day continuing to flee, to be driven out of Myanmar, and there are no solutions. What we need is to focus on the issue of repatriation, the terms of repatriation, and the terms of having Rohingya citizenship recognized as recommended by the Kofi Annan Committee. And it's the recommendations of the committee that are key here. Certainly most Rohingya organizations have accepted them. The Aung San Suu Kyi government professes to accept them, but of course is being disingenuous. And the solution here lies in bringing these people home, keeping them out of camps, and eliminating the apartheid-type conditions they're forced to live under. That's where we need to be focusing. And in the course of doing that, certainly Amnesty's call for an arms embargo, a comprehensive arms embargo on Myanmar is welcome. I would add that it's high time that the 969 movement and Ma Ba were designated as terrorist organizations. But we're unlikely to see that happen in the short term, since the United States is far more concerned with maintaining its tactic of using Myanmar as a pivotal part, as a key part of its pivot to Asia strategy that seeks to isolate China.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grossman. International lawyer Barry Grossman joining us from Bali.